Now to an NBC News exclusive interview. Sandra Ford Mendler is Christine Blasey Ford's sister-in-law. She co-authored the letter of support written by Dr. Ford's family yesterday. And she joins me now in her first television interview ever. I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, I think.
First question and most important question, Sandra, have you spoken to your sister-in-law and how is she doing?
Chrissy is responding to text messages, and she's really not speaking with us by phone, which I completely understand. So we've been in contact, and she's hanging in there. It's been difficult.
Based on the tone of the text messages, I know you don't want to get into any specifics about that, but based on the tone, how is she holding up through this? We understand that she's gotten death threats. She's had to move out of her home.
Yeah, so she's worried about safety for herself and her family, and it's a difficult time. Mm-hmm. And I really respect that she's trying to do the right thing, and it's been a difficult time.
I want to get you to respond to something that President Trump said today. He went on Twitter, essentially attacked your sister-in-law. He said this, and I'm going to just let you respond. He says, "I have no doubt that if the attack on Dr. Ford was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed with local law enforcement authorities by either her or her loving parents. I ask that she bring those filings forward so that we can learn date, time, and place." Your response?
So for me, the issue really is that Chrissy, at great cost to herself, decided that it was her civic responsibility when the background checks were being done for Kavanaugh to come forward confidentially with information. She's a researcher and she's a scientist, and she understands the value of information. And she came forward confidentially back in July with information that she thought should be part of the investigation. And so I have the utmost respect for the way she handled this. And only when her name leaked out and she started, the story started being told incorrectly, did she take a deep breath and come forward and allow her identity to be known and to discuss this. So I think that a leader of this country, when a citizen comes forward and says, this is difficult, but I think you need to know, that the leader of this country should say, thank you, we'll look into it. So I think she took, she's being, she's participating in our process, and she should be thanked for coming forward, and it should be investigated fully.
The president seems to be suggesting that your sister-in-law is not telling the truth. What do you say to that? Do you have any reason to doubt these allegations that she's making against Judge Kavanaugh?
Well, for me, knowing Chrissy for many years, since 2001, I have no doubt that she's telling the truth, because Chrissy is somebody who is she's a private person. She's a modest person. She is focused on her family and coaching her students through their dissertation process. And she has a very full life. And she is a very serious person. And there's no reason why she would fabricate this. I feel 100% certain that she is sharing a difficult and painful memory and is being very careful to be accurate with everything that she says. So I feel no doubt on that.
Sandra, did she ever talk to you about this alleged incident?
No, not directly. And so that's part of our family. We are close. We share time together. We don't, no, we didn't talk about it. It's a private thing, and I'm not surprised, honestly, that we didn't, because this isn't something. This is private and difficult,
It is private.
Yeah.
It is private and difficult, and you talk about how close you are. Did you ever get the sense that there was something that maybe she was hiding, that she was keeping to herself?
I never thought she was hiding anything. I knew, like most people I know, like myself, that there are issues that couples work through and there are issues that individuals work through. I think working with a therapist is a healthy process, and I knew that she had been engaging in therapy, and I was supportive of that. And so I think that's a normal and healthy thing for an adult. And I didn't pry to ask specifically the details of what they were discussing.
And when did you first learn, Sandra, about these allegations? Was it when the world learned?
Yes, it was. And I think Chrissy was making every effort to keep it confidential and to be careful with the story and the information. And so, yes, I did learn it at that same time.
And your reaction when you heard this?
Well, I feel so sympathetic. I mean, I feel proud of her for stepping forward. Like I said, I think she's really focused on raising her boys to be good men, and I'm proud of her for having the courage to face this situation, and like I said before, I don't think she ever expected it was going to come out quite this way. But I think she's doing what we should be expecting each other to do in this country.
And we've been trying to sort of help our viewers, not only throughout this hour, but through our coverage, to understand why sometimes people don't speak out initially, particularly when they are teenagers, particularly when they are young. Do you have a sense, or have you had any conversations with your sister-in-law about why she didn't share this, if she didn't at the time?
It's completely understandable to me on why she didn't share this at the time. So I just think that it's completely understandable to me. Mm-hmm. And this is part of our culture we live in.
And she, overnight, through her attorneys, said to lawmakers on Capitol Hill, effectively, that she would be willing to testify on Thursday. She did have some other asks of what the hearing would look like. Republicans have now made their counteroffer for what they're willing to accept, including saying the hearing should be on Wednesday. They want Judge Kavanaugh to speak second after your sister-in-law. Do you think she's going to appear on Wednesday? I don't understand why there's a rush. I think that we have a process where Supreme Court nominees that will serve for life are vetted, and I don't understand why there's a rush. Mm-hmm. Do you have any sense that she might consider appearing on Wednesday? And I take your point, and I think a lot of people agree with what you're saying. Given that the committee is saying we'd like to have this Wednesday, do you think she would consider appearing on Wednesday?
I don't have anything to offer on that. What I have to offer is that she is a serious person. She's a family person. She is. Her expertise is statistics. She is so careful about information and never exaggerating results. She's a very serious and thoughtful and generous person, and I think she, as a thoughtful and serious person, wants the process to be fair, and I don't think that's too much to ask, and I don't know why it should be a rush. But that's just me. But I think for her, that she wants, I don't know, I think she wants to avoid a situation that is not the right process.
Mm-hmm. And part of that, she says there should be an FBI investigation. She's not demanding it, but she's been very firm that she wants to see that. How critical do you think that is?
Well, I can't imagine why there wouldn't be an FBI investigation. That's how she originally brought the information forward. She said, you're doing a background check. This is information you should have. And so why would there not? That's what the FBI is there for, to investigate this information. I just can't imagine why they would not. She's not asking for anything that's outside of the normal process of vetting a candidate. So I just don't know why that wouldn't happen.
And we just spoke with someone who said that the president's tweet this morning was, in fact, so explosive that there's a scenario by which Dr. Ford would actually file charges now against Judge Kavanaugh. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, she didn't come forward filing charges. She came forward as a concerned citizen saying, you're doing a background check. This is information you should have. And I think every citizen that, as we go forward, people should be encouraged to participate. And it's a terrible message to say that we're going to shoot the messenger. It's terrible.
To that point, there have been so many parallels, I think, drawn between this moment and 1991, when Anita Hill accused Judge Clarence Thomas at the time of sexual harassment. What is your message to lawmakers right now as they prepare to, what it appears, try to hear from your sister-in-law next week?
I think I would like them to think about their process and the fact that this is a lifetime appointment. We want there to be consensus moving forward with justices, and so they should think about their process. And that's what I'd like them to think about, the importance of this particular issue, and then also how that represents our government more broadly. So I think this is a critically important issue, but it's also part of this larger conversation about how we come together as a country and how we encourage dialogue and how we're not afraid of information and we just look into it and we decide what to do next as a body of wise people. So a body of wise people should want this information, in my mind.
Well, Sandra Ford Mendler, I can't thank you enough. I know this is your first television interview. We really, really appreciate your perspective, and we're wishing you and your family the best. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.